So when we talk about planning poker, how do you actually kind of play this? This is actually a game, interesting exercise. So you've got these kind of cards that you have. So for example, it could be this card, it could be a number that you can write 1, 5. So you can actually have these cards and you give a deck of these cards. You can have simple, a whole deck of cards, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that written in the back of the cards. And then you can actually have these handed over to each of the persons who is part of the team. So it's not 1, 1, 1 that you give, you actually give a series of these bunch of these cards to each of them. So each one will have about 5, 6, 7 cards, whatever it is. And then what they do is they would then look at each of these. Once the product owner or the business analyst, typically like me, for example, would read out the requirement, the user story, we'll try and set the context where that is used, what's the usage scenario, the kind of acceptance criteria. We'll read out all of those, give the details, and then say, now this is the functionality, right? And then they would discuss that. That's where the 3 C's come in: the card, conversation, and confirmation. So the user story is the card. So reading out is the card. So you actually just write that one-liner. And then based on that, they would actually have a look at that and say, okay, fair enough. If this is what is required from the e-commerce, again, e-commerce point of view, let's look at shopping cart. As a user, I would like to select an item so that I can add that to my cart. So that's a user story, for example. That's what we're trying to estimate. So that's the user story. I read it out and then I say, well, for this acceptance criteria, these things. Go to a particular product, look at the image. It should display an image. It should have an item title. For example, it could be a mobile screen protector. It could be what kind of mobile phones it would fit in. It for iPhone 5, iPhone 5, 10, 11, all those things. It fits so and so phones. And then you actually say the description, item description would be what kind of material it is made of. Is it made of silicone, or is it made of plastic, or is it metal, blah, blah, all of that stuff, the item description. So I mention all of these, and then I say there should be a button somewhere or some option there where if the user clicks that, then that gets added to the shopping cart. And then there should be confirmation that added maybe some kind of animation or something. So all of those detailing would be there in the acceptance criteria. And then the team would then discuss, okay, this is what is to be done. This is the user story. As a user, I should be able to select an item so that I can add it to the cart. So then they'll actually talk about, okay, if this is the case, what kind of thing should we serve? Do we have to have an image? What kind of image? How many should we display on a page? Should we have a blow up of the image from the thumbnail? If they click on the image, should we have that bigger version of the image? So we need to have 2 different images, which means that we should have a different page for that, which displays the page details or item details page. So there should be a list view or the grid view, which actually shows all the items in list or in thumbnail view. Click on that on a particular item, you should be actually having a detailed view of that particular item, maybe with a bigger image with more specifications, reviews, and things like that. What particular other items would it fit in? What phones would it fit in? Blah, blah, blah. So that's where they discuss all these things and then say, okay, I think we need to have at least 2 pages for this. And we need to have high-res images of the images, blah, blah, of the photos and things like that. We should have this. So that's where the dependencies, I think we already have them in the library. We've got that in the digital library. We already have the images. Fair enough. We don't need to worry. So these kind of discussions, what is happening here is a discussion. You're facilitating discussion and interaction amongst the development team. So the front-end person would be, obviously when we talk about the team, we have people who are looking at the front end, the visual aspect of it, people who are with the visual designers, and then we've got database developers. So each of them is going to think from their own point of view, hey, hold on, I think we have got a table in the database already created, which is called item. So that actually has the item details, item description, item identifier. It has got this, it has got this, blah, blah, blah. It has got a unique ID, GUID ID for the item, so we can uniquely identify that item in the database. So I think we already have that. So yeah, good, fair enough. I think we don't have to work much on the database. So he thinks that it is, let's say, then on the shout of the, okay, show the card, then he actually thinks it is 3. Whereas the processing guy might actually say, I think it's a 5 because I have got to do this on the front end. So all of them would then have a discussion. If there are too much of variation, one person says 1 and then other person says 5, obviously there is a lot of discrepancy. That means that they again go back to the discussion. I think, hey, why do you think it's a 1? Is it really that easy? I thought we have to code up this particular page. It's not ready. No, I think it's ready. We have done it in the last project, or it's already done, but along with the login page, it's already there. So that kind of discussion, that collaboration, that kind of conversations are what are encouraged. And finally, where they say that, okay, I think overall, again, finally, after about 2-3 iterations, you actually come up with, okay, this is what everybody does. Everybody shows from their own side. So end of the day, that is the agreed upon story point for that particular functionality. So it would take a 3, for example. I'm just giving an example again. It's not easy. Nobody would be settling in for a 3 when they start with 8 or 13. So again, each of these could be different in terms of a 21 could be a really big number if in one case, whereas it could be it's a very small thing for in the same context for a different team, for a different set of technology. So it's all relative. Bear in mind that you're actually dealing with things in a relative way. So it's not absolute numbers. So a 1 to you might be different from the 1 to me, right? So you need to really establish that. So we need to really have that kind of the kind of a benchmark or a standard that is agreed upon within the team, so they know what they're talking